Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Dr. Felicia J. Lindsay, founder of AGR Book Club. Welcome to Deliciously Lit, the podcast where adventure, books, and cuisine collide. If this is your first time to our channel, or if you've been here before, say hello. I'm back. D-Lit. Now, pour yourself a glass of your favorite beverage, settle in, and get ready for some deliciously lit fun. Hello, we are with Ella Clarke, author, motivational speaker. You're doing so many things. I want you to tell our audience everything that you do. I want you to tell them about your new book and your series that you're thinking about. I want you to tell them about your existing book. Tell us everything, Ella.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Felicia, and for the AGR Book Club. Thank you so much for having me on. I am Ella Clarke. I am an author. I am a motivational speaker. I am a mother. I am a corporate executive. I've got a lot going on. So don't know where you want me to start, but I am an avid reader. I think that's very important for anybody that calls themselves an author. I believe you have to be a voracious reader, and I am. I'm always reading something, and I really love paranormal fantasy and fiction, and that's what I started writing. My first book series is a young adult paranormal fantasy. It is about a rogue guardian angel. He is a rogue guardian angel who is on a journey for redemption. And as a motivational speaker and a pastor, I have found just in counseling young adults and teenagers and this next generation, that generation Gen Z, millennial, I feel like the church has been guilty of pushing what I call perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. We're all striving for perfection. But when we push perfection, then these young adults, these teenagers, they feel like they have no recourse when they don't feel perfect. So that's where my first book series was birthed, was out of a desire to reach a generation of young adults and teenagers who I feel weren't getting what they needed from traditional church messaging. So the Guardian Odyssey is
Mm-hmm.
the series. The first book is Reborn.
Mm-hmm.
It's it begins the journey of a fallen guardian angel by the name of Kendi. Kendi means the chosen one in Hebrew, Swahili, in Swahili.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kendi is a guardian angel. That was his purpose. That's the destiny that he's called to, but he wants to do everything else. So essentially, Kendi decides that he's going to be the worst guardian angel possible so that he gets removed from that office so he can go off and do these other things. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and as a result, the set gifts that he is supposed to protect are lost.
Mm-hmm.
And after he is tried in the high court,
Mm-hmm.
sentenced to earth duty. So now he has to walk out his purpose in the body of a 17-year-old human teenage boy in
Mm-hmm.
high school, where he's now subject to bullying, being hurt, just all the obstacles that we face as human beings. And
Mm-hmm.
still an angel, he has the awareness of being an angel, but he no longer has the privileges and the powers. So he has to walk out this redemption path, love, loss, hurt, and being a target for not only humans, but also the supernatural that's now gunning for him as he's trying to fulfill destiny in the earthly realm. So Reborn starts that journey for Kendi. The second book I'm working on right now in this series is Retribution. Retribution should be out mid next year.
Okay.
Um, After Retribution is Reconciliation, and the final book in the series is Redemption. So it's a journey for Kendi A little bit of everything in there: angels, demons, shapeshifters,
I
uh,
love it.
different realms where angels and demons are going from realm to realm and
Mhm.
battling in the human realm under the guise of thunderstorms and fires. And it's set in Danvers, Massachusetts,
Mhm.
which is very close to Salem,
Yes.
Massachusetts. And we know lots of very interesting things have happened in that area, like the
This is
Salem witch trials and those kinds of things that, if we say things that make you go, hmm, maybe those things were influenced by some of the demonic realm and some
true.
of the things that the angels and the guardians might have missed. So lots of things are thrown in there that are very real life, that
Mhm.
happened in current times, a little bit in past times. So it turns it into a little bit of an urban fantasy, epic fantasy, because there are very real places, real restaurants, real schools. So it's a journey.
Uh-huh.
And I invite everybody to come take the journey with me, even though it's young adult, new adult. I know I myself, I like a lot of young adult,
I like a lot of young adult books.
a lot of young adult, new adult fiction, because they're messages.
Hmm.
There are messages in there for a generation. So the Guardian Odyssey Reborn, it's out. It's in paperback, hardback, audiobook, and also ebook. So it's in every platform that anyone would like to
Pick
pick.
it up.
You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can buy it on my website. You can buy it from my publisher, Black Rose Writing. So, very excited about that series, that current series that's out there. My first foray into young adult paranormal fantasy.
How did you decide on picking a publisher versus going self-published?
So I will say that I tried, and I never went traditional self publishing where you're doing all the editing and everything yourself. My first attempt, I will say, into getting my first book published, I checked into it, and you don't know what you don't know. And I picked what's called partner publishing, which
Uh-huh.
you have to be very careful with some companies that are labeling themselves as partner publishing, because they really are self publishing with a very high dollar amount attached to it. And
Hmm.
really, whatever you send to them, they're going to take your money and they're going to publish it. And I found that out the hard way. They tout editing, and there really wasn't any editing. The editing that was done was what I pretty much did myself. Um,
Hmm.
and I even designed a book cover and sent it to them. I had somebody design a book cover and send it to. So whatever you send them is what they put out there. And
Hmm.
it was several thousands of dollars, and it was really not worth it. After that experience, I did a lot of research. Honestly,
Hmm.
I stepped back and did a lot of research, but I was not pleased with the product that was out there. I won't say what the name of that work was, because I don't want anybody to be able to find it.
I understand.
If it's still out there, I don't want anybody to be able to find it. Um, but I did a lot of research and I educated myself. I went to book conferences. I went to places where there were people teaching and educating new authors that even were published, but they wanted to perfect their craft. And if you're going to perfect your craft, you have to get around like minded people and people who know more than you do, so that
Yes.
you can learn and grow. And through going to conferences and attending classes and seminars, I
Hmm.
started to learn the tips and tricks of the industry. I started to learn about literary agents and submission
Hmm.
guidelines and query letters and pitch slams and all of those things that traditional authors have to learn to do to
Yeah.
be able to get picked up by traditional publishing, because I wanted to be traditionally published.
Okay.
And through that journey and that process, I started to learn even more. So, when you start to review submission guidelines, there are small house publishers that have open book calls, open author calls, where
Hmm.
don't have to have a literary agent, and they will take a chance on a new author that's very well put together but may not have thousands of followers or readers on social media platforms already. And that's what I did. I found a small traditional publisher, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and submitted my work. And I actually read submission guidelines where I did not have to single submit, because sometimes they don't want you to submit across a bunch of different houses. They want to make their decision first. So I kind of stayed away from those because I wanted to make sure that I because some of these submissions can take 6 months to hear back. So I wanted to make sure that I spread myself across as many as I could to try to get a decision. And I did that. And months went by. And about 4 months into the process, Black Rose Writing reached out to me and said, "Hey, is this work published yet? If not, we'd like to talk about a contract."
That's awesome.
So you have to be persistent. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be consistent. You have to be thorough. I had a lot of spreadsheets about where I was sending stuff, what their criteria was, making sure that when you send your query letter, that you're following those guidelines and you talk about the specifics of your work. You can get samples of anything now. And this was years ago. This was about 5 years ago at this point. But now AI is out there.
Yeah.
I mean, AI is out there, and you can literally use some of these AI platforms to write very succinct, clear summaries of
Yeah.
your work. Because as a writer, as an author of novels, that is the hardest thing to do, is to take a 350-page novel and condense it into a blurb.
That's what it is.
3 or 4 sentences. It's really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not encouraging people just to go out and use AI to write your stuff. You got to put some work into it. But
Yeah.
there's tools and tips that tricks that you can use to assist you along
Yes.
the way. So that was a very long-winded way of saying you have to educate yourself. You have to put yourself in circles where there are people that have done what you're trying to do. Learning has to be continuous. I have several conferences on the books even this year still, to learn, to grow, and to enhance what I'm already doing as a published author.
That is awesome. Now, tell me about this anthology that you're a part of.
Yes. So one of the conferences that I went to, it was sponsored by a publisher that is based in Maryland, Laboo Publishing, and one of her authors had a vision to do an anthology. It's a memoir. It's a collaboration of memoirs.
Mm-hmm.
And at this conference, she started talking about open an author call for this anthology. And I was very interested in doing a first anthology, because yet another conference that I was at, they taught on how to do anthologies and how to submit and get included in anthology. So I went to this conference and I started asking questions about anthologies and how you become involved in anthologies. And she said, one of my authors is doing an anthology. Check out the author call on her page. And I read it and I said, I would love to do this. I have a very, very strong relationship, had a very strong relationship with my grandmothers who helped raise me. And the anthology is called Cheers to Those Who Raised Us. So
Oh,
every chapter
mm-hmm.
is a tribute to someone that made a significant impact in your life. So the anthology, Cheers to Those Who Raised Us, it's coming soon. My chapter is entitled Queen.
All
Uh,
right.
that's what the older cousins called my grandmother. We called her Granny, but they
Mm-hmm.
called her Queen. And when I stepped back and really thought through my journey growing up with my grandmother and all the traditions that she put in place and the legacy that she left, Queen was very apt. So when I wrote my chapter and submitted it as a contributing author to my very first anthology, I thought Queen was
It's fitting.
absolutely the right title for
Hmm.
my chapter.
But it sounds like a beautiful anthology, though.
I cannot wait to read the entire book. Some very great authors that I met for the first time by submitting to the anthology. And I will say the journey of being an author sometimes is about being out of your comfort zone. There are a lot of things that I have done as an author that I never would have thought I would have participated in. I remember going to my first author conference in New York and learning about pitch slams and how to pitch a book to literary agents. And I actually paid for the session to pitch my book that was
Hmm.
completely written at the time to a literary agent. And I was so petrified, I backed out. I didn't even show up to my session that I paid for.
Hmm.
Thinking back on that, I think about the journey and how far I've come by continuing to learn and grow and get around strong minded individuals that will give you a leg up or a hand up. And it's not about handouts, it really is about a hand up. Anytime I talk to aspiring authors or those that are just starting out, I always just give the story and the journey and what they can best do to get started, from tools, from the best platforms to use online to word processing and tools that'll check your work, and things
Hmm.
like Grammarly that won't let you overuse words, and writing pro aids, and how to do query letters, and all those things that you start to get to line up to validate who you are as an author. You got to have those things. It's very easy to say, "Oh, I'm going to write a book," and just
Yes.
sit down and start writing, and then they finish the whole book and they're like, "Okay, now what?" No target audience,
Hmm.
don't know who you're going to market to, have no idea how to get it out there, whether you're going to do it self published, partner published, small house publishing, traditional publishing. You can do KDP, you can do Vela, you can do Novella, you can do drafted digital. There's so many things that you can do, and you have to research those things to make sure that when you start down a path, no, there's no one right way to do it because there are a lot of options, but you got to figure out what option is going to work best for you. Because just because something works for somebody else does not mean it's going to work for you.
Now, that is true. Now, you're working on a project to be able to help new writers. Now, tell us a little bit, but not too much. I know it's still in the making.
I am. So there are a few things that I have done and am doing and going to do for new writers. So in the past, I have had a podcast where it was designed to help new and debut authors,
Hmm.
specifically who had their first book out or and needed help with marketing and social media presence and even book trailers. We were creating book trailers for new authors and advertising those on social media platforms. But what I'm doing currently is I'm updating my website, in the process of updating my website, and going to have tips and tricks for new authors that is going to be out there. Also, to do more of a deep dive into those tips and tricks, I am working on a platform, a teachable platform, a learning platform where individuals will be able to go in and actually get a deep dive lesson on some of these things that aren't readily available, and they're not out there where people are really free with the information that should be. I feel like it should be out there, in a condensed way to help new authors, aspiring authors, get started. So that's coming soon. I'm working on that platform with another individual that I think, is going to be very helpful
Well,
for new.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Now, you're also co writing a book.
I am. So it is a novella. So it will be 50,000 words or less. It is a debut author, a breakout author. And this individual, I am co writing with this author, and the book will be published. The novella will be published on my platform, Clark
Oh,
House Publishing. So
right.
it's going to be a lot of fun. It is a urban fiction, futuristic, utopian kind of society.
Yes.
Something that I would not have come up with myself, but so the idea is primarily the co-author that I am writing the book with, and it's
Mhm.
going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a quick project that will debut in the latter half of
Mhm.
this year once we're all done with it. But I'm very excited about that because it's somebody that I kind of took under my wings, and it will be their first venture into writing and the publishing process. So very excited about that coming towards the end of 23.
Now you have your own company?
Just platform. I will not say
Oh,
company.
all
Um,
right.
I am not sure that I really want to be a publisher, um,
Mhm.
but that's one of the beauties of being an author. You have so many different platforms where you can
Mhm.
get your work out there. So
Mhm.
like mine for my first novel series is with Black Rose Writing. That's
Mhm.
that is my publisher, and that series will stay with Black Rose Writing. But when you're doing quick projects like this novella, once you learn the market, you really don't have to wait and go through all the channels. If you
Mhm.
have the editing in place, you have the book cover design in place, there are platforms that you can use as a to publish work. And so it's a project. So we'll see. But my platform is Clark House Publishing, and the novella is going to be on Clark House Publishing. So I'm
I
excited.
love it. I
I'm
love
excited. We're going to see.
Congratulations.
We're going to see. So I'm not calling for author submissions or any of that kind of thing, because that's literally a full time job and a full time
Yes.
business. And
Yes.
I'm more focused on my writing than that format of business.
Mhm.
However, I will say I am working with a marketing guru, Jacksonville, Florida, who is amazing, and we are talking about putting together at least a segment in one of his annual conferences for
Mhm.
new and debut writers.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so it might be a little conference tidbit on my on my website here in the early 2024 for another resource for new authors that are looking to learn from authors that have been where they're trying to get to.
I love it. I love it. I love how you're giving back to the community too. That's an awesome thing.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that I fully believe in. I don't like the crabs in the barrel mentality. Share knowledge, we can share wealth.
Now you're also working on an adult paranormal series.
Yes.
Where do you get all this time?
Guys, don't sleep. Um, so that is very new and very in the mind mapping stage.
Mhm.
Seasoned authors know what mind mapping is. You just get a cork board or a mind board, and you just put all the ideas on it. So my first series, like I said, is young adult, new adult.
Mhm.
But I read a ton of adult paranormal fantasy. So that's my genre. I love the IT Lucas and the Cressley Coles and J.R. Ward and all those great writers that have these series that just go on and on and on. But the one thing that I feel like is missing in the market is a series like paranormal fantasy that is based around African mythology and folklore that's not dark.
Okay.
There's a lot of dark out there when you start to pull in African folklore and mythology.
Mhm.
But just like our European counterparts, we have kings, we have queens, we have stories and folklore and fables that are uplifting and have a message and that can serve a purpose other
Mhm.
than the darkness. um, so I really want to do the adult series with
Mhm.
that mindset. So I am in the research, the research stage and the corkboarding stage for that series. So don't know when it'll kick off or how I will launch it. I've honestly thought about doing my own anthology where I will be the visionary author and do a backstory for this adult series
That
and
was
other
cool.
contributing authors of color for
Mhm.
a fantasy anthology. So that's one of the ideas that I've been playing with. I said there's so many different ways that you can get
Mhm.
your writing and your ideas out there. And anthologies are a great way
Mhm.
to do that because you don't have to write a 300-page book. You can do a 5,000, 7,000 word chapter and have an entire book because you have contributing authors
Yeah.
and there's a theme around what you're writing. So that's another thing I had in mind that I think I want to do is
A
a
lot of projects on the way.
people of color. Exactly. And that's what I've used my 2023 to do is to line up projects and put them in an order that I want to check them off and get them done. You have to be organized if you're going to do this many things. And one thing that you can't do as an author is do too many things all at the same time. So even though I'm talking through all of these things that I have, they're all in line, one behind the other. I'm not doing them all at the same time because you never finish anything.
That's true.
You
It would
will
be
never
overwhelming.
finish anything. The anthology was first in 23 in terms of the writing that I wanted to get out there.
Uh-huh.
And so the anthology, my piece is done. It's in editing stage now with the publisher. The cover debuted a couple of weeks ago. It's beautiful. Uh,
Mhm.
and so we're on to the marketing and publicity stage in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So my social media will be blowing up with cheers to those who raised us, and I'm excited about
Mhm.
that. And then the novella is next, and right after that is the second book and the Guardian Odyssey. And then I'll continue to corkboard every time I have an idea for the adult series. I'll put it there and continue to do my research.
Now, when you finish up that second book, please come back and tell us about that book.
Absolutely will tell you about retribution.
Yeah.
Retribution is almost three-fourths of the way completed. So I've
Okay.
been working on retribution for a while, and it's just the next step in Kendi's journey. I already have on my home office, the wall, already have a cover that's been
Mhm.
designed for retribution. So it's just waiting for the words in between the pages, in between the
Word.
covers.
Now, tell everybody all your social media handles
Oh my goodness.
and your website.
Oh my goodness. So that caught me off guard a little bit. Okay, so face so you create them and then there's so many of them now.
There are.
So Facebook is Ella Clarke and it is Ella Clarke author and it's Ella Clarke with an E author. Let's see. Twitter. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna cheat. I
That's
gotta
what I do. I have a cheat.
I'm gonna have to cheat. I'm gonna have to go.
I have a little cheat thing, see?
I have got to have my
And I
cheat.
just keep it on my desk.
Absolutely. Because literally I have to go to my cheat sheet. I have a tool called dot card.
I love Dot. I have a Dot
Yeah,
card. I love
my
it.
dot card login. I'm gonna have to go to my dot card login where
I love it.
where I have all of my oh my goodness. You completely caught me off guard on this one. All right. All right. So my website is ellaclarke.net. And that's Clark again with an E. My Instagram is woohoo. Oh, let's see.
Now your Instagram is Ella Clarke, right?
My Instagram is Ella Clarke.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many
Your
of them.
Twitter is Ella Clarke also.
Twitter is also Ella Clarke.
Mm-hmm.
All of my social media platforms are Ella Clarke or author Ella Clarke, because some of the platforms did not have Ella Clarke available.
Okay.
But they might be author Ella Clarke.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. All right, let's see. Social media links. And then now they have the whole thing, the what is it called? Threads.
Yes. That was new.
That one is
You're
new.
already on Threads?
I am already on Threads only because it copied your profile from
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yes.
So that's easy.
Yes, that made it easy. I haven't started posting on there yet, but that made it very easy.
That made it extremely easy. And of course, this this dot card thing is not working at the moment for me to see my actual all of my profile handles. Thought there was a screen that I could just see all of my.
But they're either at Ella Clarke
They're
or
at
at
Ella
Ella
Clarke
Clarke
or author Ella Clarke
or author Ella Clarke.
or
Okay.
author Ella Clarke. Yes, ma'am. So Twitter is the Ella Clarke, and Snapchat is at Ella Clarke 2021. TikTok is Ella Arthur at author Ella Clarke. Did I miss any? Let's see. So that's LinkedIn is where I'll put a lot of my business platform things, like the learning platform that I'm working on would be on LinkedIn. So
Okay.
LinkedIn is Ella Clarke.
Okay.
Twitter again is the Ella Clarke. Facebook is Ella Clarke author. Instagram is author underscore Ella Clarke. And then my website is ellaclarke.net.
All right.
Now, if
Okay.
you type in ellaclarke.com, I own that as well. So it will forward you to ellaclarke.net.
Okay.
Because when I first started writing, ellaclarke.com was not available.
Oh,
But when it became available, I purchased it as well.
well, that's good because sometimes you're automatically put in .com.
A lot of people put in
Mhm.
automatically.com. So it's good to own .com, but I will tell you that .com, especially if you're connecting it to writing, those domains can be extremely expensive. Don't get discouraged. Choose the .net, the .biz, get what's available for the inexpensive price, and just keep an eye on the .com that you want. Because I wound up getting .com for very inexpensive. It was a couple years later, but and now I own them both.
Now you have to tell everyone what would you pair with Reborn as far as a drink and a dish.
A drink in a dish. So I am a very big coffee drinker,
Mm,
and I think I spoiled my girls very early with coffee. So when they were probably preteens, one of our favorite place was Starbucks. So
yes.
they did the vanilla frappuccinos and the
Mm,
caramel frappuccinos, and I would always do the americanos with some heavy cream in it, just so it's
mm.
nice and creamy. So you can always pair a good coffee, your favorite coffee drink, with a favorite dessert. One of my favorite
Yes.
desserts, cheesecake.
I love cheesecake.
Uh, cheesecake.
I'm
So
a marble cake at
cheesecake
Starbucks.
or a really good chocolate croissant
Now
or
that's good.
an almond croissant. Just that good coffee and a pastry. Any kind of sweet is always good to curl up with a book. It's just so good.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Now, what restaurant in North Carolina would you tell everybody to go to? I know you know a good one.
So I am in central North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh. So there is if you like seafood, there
Hmm.
is a great place in Holly Springs, North Carolina called the Blind Pelican. Great seafood. And if you are a good soul food loving person and you like
Love some soul food.
soul food, there is a Black owned restaurant in Fuquay Varina that is called Joyce's. Joyce's has some of the best cooking around in these, in these parts, and it'll make you hurt yourself.
Well, I can't wait to try both of your recommendations. And I want to thank you for coming on
Absolutely.
podcast and being a part of AGR Book Club and
It,
just giving to the community.
it has been my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You have just listened to another episode of Deliciously Lit podcast with your host, Dr. Felicia J. Lindsay. Connect with us at bookclubpublishing.com. Don't forget to get the app, join the Facebook group, subscribe, and write us a review. See you at the next episode.